What is going on, everyone? My name is Boit, and I am back with some more Age of Mythology, the Titans action, spawning in the blue color, playing as Odin. You already know, it's the Rapl. And his opponent, one of his biggest nemesis ever. Nemesi? How do you say that? I don't know. The man, the myth, the legend, older than time itself. His name is ChronoJJ, and he's playing Set. A little bit of a spicy one here in game number one. ChronoJJ going in with the Set, trying to get a little bit of a metagaming, as it were, against his opponent, thinking that the Set's going to give him an advantage over the might that is Rapl's Odin. I'm excited to see how this game's going to go. ChronoJJ always comes in prepared with something interesting. Lots of very, very cool ideas in this game, as we do see Rapl has found himself his Auroch, and Chrono has found himself his deer. So this is a very, very high hunt map here. We've also got deer in the corner here. We've got elk over here. We've got caribou here. And we'll have probably some deer or aurochs over here as well for ChronoJJ, as we do see that the priest has been spotted here with the help of the hyena to slow this, to get some extra damage on here. It's not going to be quite enough to keep this priest alive and intact, as he has to run all the way back as the other Ulfslark is coming in to say g'day. And this is a bit of a weakness of Set in the early game. You definitely don't want to send your priest too far forward against your opponent. Always somewhere relatively sneaky is better. Get a couple of animals out to defend your priest, and you're golden, or at least send a villager forward to shank away. As we do now see the hyena here going to town on this Skraeling. You got to be pretty careful here. 10 HP. Chrono's not paying attention. 6 HP, 4 HP, 3 HP, 1 HP, and dead, but a dead Ulfslark as well. It's kind of a decent trade and a real... little bit of friendly fire there from Mr. ChronoJJ. Decides to kill his own hyena as a little gift to Rapl, who's going to be just a little bit sad about losing his Ulfslark. But, you know, he's got another one there, and a priest for an Ulfslark against Set. Not a bad trade there in the early game, though. High hunt map that it is. It's not going to be that big of a deal here for Chrono. He can just move around the map, happily eat whatever he wants. Not really that big of a problem. The big thing here is that because it's such a high hunt map here, Chrono's going to be able to have access to Anubites. Anubites here against Odin. We've seen it before with players like Joe. We even saw it in the a little bit of a throwback here, the Magic versus Mr. series. I think it was Isis or Set versus Odin, and Magic went with the Anubites and made life very, very challenging for Mr. in that series, as we are seeing the temple now coming up for Chrono. It looks to me like this might be either a very aggressive classical age move here from Chrono, or he might be going for a fast second town center. No monument means no real Anubites here, as a 330 coming through and Tar coming through. A little bit of a waste here from Chrono, I would say. As we move up here and see what Rapl's doing, he's going up Freya. Rapl's got to be a little bit concerned. He's going to start throwing walls up all over the place. Having lost an Ulfslark this early is going to be somewhat of an issue for him to overcome, as we do see a house getting thrown up in a pretty precarious position, but this is so that he can wall this side off and defend his food. But when he sees the god that is not named Anubis, he's going to be really, really happy, as the walls coming up here and all the other good stuff. We are seeing Chrono sending out his Pharaoh super early, and if you would have noticed in the early game here, Chrono really didn't scout very well at all with that hyena before losing it. So he has a lot of the map not scouted, which is the complete opposite of what you would expect here from a Set in the early game here on a map like Competitive Mega Random. As he does move his Pharaoh in, he's going to spot the Herso here, immediately turning around. We see the Herso getting garrisoned. Nice play there from Rapl. Rapl can just retreat that Herso away or wait for another couple of units here to try and take out said Pharaoh, as we do see the town center getting a couple of free hits there. Chrono being a little bit lackluster, a little bit carefree with that unit there. Chrono now, I don't see a barracks up just yet. He has thrown himself his own little wall against the trees there, and there might be an attempt at a shifting sands here to just kill those two her, so it might be the best kind of option, get his units back home here as the as the Valkyrie is coming in here to cause some problems. And there is the shifting sands, the units garrisoning into this location, and there's a forest fire. So not the most well thought out shifting sands of ChronoJJ's life here, as the Hearser will not be getting away, it will fall. And Rapl gets back with one Hearser for a shifting sands. That's a big win. That's a big win there, as we are now seeing a cheeky raid now coming onto the food here of Rapl. Rapl has to retreat back. This is some nice harass in the early game here from Chrono, putting on some good pressure here. There's you got to be very, very hyper aware that against Norse, and especially against Odin, they are the most weak at the early stages of the game. So getting that early game advantage is very, very important, as we are seeing the town center getting dropped here, the Pharaoh moving over here to empower this one up, the Wadjet getting chased down here by the Valkyrie. And honestly, Rapl has dealt with this early game harass wonderfully. He just needs to actually just accept that he's safe to move over here and eat this hunt and not be on his berries right now, and he'd be playing it very, very nice indeed, as we see the Valkyrie almost getting taken down, but the Wadjet not getting taken down. And that's a win there for ChronoJJ in a big way, as he's now going to move back onto his town center. 2 town centers, 6 minutes, 15 seconds into the game. A little bit late here. It's going to be up at like 6:30, I would guess. But just a little bit late from Chrono. He did go for some early game harass, and I understand where that's coming from, but you can't be going this late against Odin. This town center needs to be up 5:30 at the very latest, especially if you're advancing at 4:30. There's no real reason not to be getting this town center up if you're planning on going for it. As we're now starting to see walls popping up across the map here. There are some decent forest spawns here on this map to kind of cut it in half. This map is a little bit reminiscent of Savannah in a big way, except with a lot more hunt than a Savannah would have. So that's interesting to see here, as we do see that the wall does end up getting up. Will Chrono be paying attention? No, he's not paying attention here, as the villager is not going to block that one off fast enough, and the villager retreating away. We will be seeing it getting taken out here. And Chrono coming in, snipes down that Valkyrie nicely. Good job there from ChronoJJ. He's going to try and finish off this wall over here, getting a little bit of shanks on those raiding cavalry as they're retreating away. But Rapl takes this opportunity now to just say, you went for a delayed town center. I can get a delayed town center, and it's fine. And it's not wrong. He's up. This town center is going to be up 1 minute behind ChronoJJ's, and he does have the Norse speedy gathering situation. So on the food. So his hunt gatherers, if he has say 10 on food, he's got 8, but let's just say 10, then that's like he's got an extra 2 villagers on his opponent, plus the villagers or the laborers are a little bit slower. They only gather at 0.76, whereas is this the same? 0.85. So it's a lot faster there for the Norse gatherer. So having that small advantage on villagers really doesn't do much unless your Pharaoh is empowering a large chunk of them. As we see the raiding cavalry continuously returning back onto this location here, as it looks to me as if Chrono is, well, now he's getting some spearmen out, but there's a big amount of units here for Rapl, as Rapl is almost through this wall, and the villagers will indeed have to retreat back. And ChronoJJ takes this opportunity to say, no worries, my friend, you go 2 town centers, I'm going to go 3 town centers. And we'll see how this is going to go, but this does allow Rapl to make some decisions here. He has seen it with the Ravens, so he can even be making said decisions immediately here. So decision number 1 would be grab a 3rd town center. Decision number 2 would be go heroic age. And decision number 3 would be try and just mass units, get upgrades in the classical age, and go for some form of a gold starve or all in on a town center. As we are seeing raiders now coming over onto these villages. They are 16 villagers here making a break for it, as the raiders do miss them running back. And there's not really a whole lot left in ChronoJJ's base. He does have an Auric over here that he can eat. He's got himself 1 monument, so not really going to be enough to spam out food from his Pharaoh, but he's got plenty of food around this town center for the time being here. So you're now seeing Rapl being very, very naughty here, taking out his opponent's caribou with his military units here. Meanwhile, we do see raiders now hitting this gold mine. Chrono reacting nicely. 44 villagers to 38, so Chrono still with a good advantage. He's getting plenty of food income, so he's able to pump villagers from all these town centers completely fine. He's not overdone it on the spearmen, but Rapl is just happily motoring ahead. He's got himself now medium raiders. If we check out the barracks, he is getting thundering hooves as well and just going to keep massing those raiding cavalry. They're going to be very difficult to deal with here as the gold is slowly starting to run out. We've got 1,000 gold left. There are multiple different gold mines on this map that are going to be very difficult for ChronoJJ to grab, so he does have to think about how he's going to secure one of these gold mines. An easy way to deal with Thundering Hooves raiding cavalry in the classical age would be getting crenellations and then getting yourself a tower or 3 on a gold mine that's important here, as we are seeing another armory or an armory coming up as Chrono is attempting to get to the next age. The raiding cavalry does run right by that villager, but notices it in the end, and dead villager there for Rapl. Good job picking off ChronoJJ's villages very nicely. It's 109 pop to 130 popular, sorry, 109 pop to 74 pop as Chrono is trying to get to the heroic age here. Let me see a villager trying to make a break for it, but Rapl is not going to be allowing that. Just these little picks here are doing a lot for Rapl to kind of slow Chrono down, because Chrono's at this point is getting an extra villager every 15 seconds or so. 14 seconds if you want to be very accurate about that, which means that if he picks off one, then he's kind of not getting behind or anything like that. So you're now seeing the units going to be pushing in here, taking down the town center. Rapl does an incredibly smart thing there, but Chrono notices it. What Rapl did was he sent that Valkyrie in first to tank the town center, and then what Chrono did is recognize it and refocus. So he is going to be picking off some of those raiding cavalry first instead of anything else, as we're seeing the town center getting attempted to get repaired up here. But there's just so many units here, and never again will anyone be able to say, man, you cannot kill a town center in the classical age with anyone other than Zeus, as we see the villagers trying to make a break for it. But Rapl says, no, get back here, my friend. I am going to take your villagers out. I'm going to finish your town center off, and you're going to be in a load of trouble here as Skadi, I was going to say Skadi coming through, but Rapl deciding to shake things up there, deciding to go Njord as Chrono clicks up through Chrono clicks up through Nephthys, and Rapl says, all right, I'm going to go for something else here. I'm going to go for Skadi. I saw the Nephthys. A little bit too much disrespect, though. Just goes to show the type of player that Rapl is. Always wanting to do a little bit of disrespect. But noticing it might not be the best of ideas here. As the raiding cavalry swing in here, going to take out these villages and the random stray units that are in here as well. Imagine some sort of a forest fire here. We do see ancestors getting cast very, very early here as a defense, as the raiding cavalry have to retreat away. But I'm a bit surprised to see that one there, as we are seeing some units now pushing onto this bottom side of the map. We still haven't gotten a Migdol stronghold up here yet for Chrono, as he's trying up a siege works. He might just be deciding to go for spearmen or something here. His opponent does have throwing axemen. Now, kind of one of the more strong compositions you can make with Norse is, not with Norse, with Egyptian against Norse, it's got to be something to do with axemen. You want to get axemen out, but at this point, because Rappl's got the thundering hooves, his you can't really make axemen. You kind of have to make spearmen, and we're starting to see that. We got the medium spearmen out, and then if you make medium spearmen, then your opponent can happily make those throwing axemen, which forces out chariot archers. So you see the raiding cavalry able to pick off a couple of villages here while the ancestors is just about to run out. Very nice play, but Chrono gets his town center back. Winter harvest coming through, plow coming through, heavy cavalry coming through for Rapl. That's going to be a big, difficult thing to stop here, as we see the Pharaoh getting taken down, more villagers getting picked out, as Rapl is not running rings around his opponent, literally, but definitely running rings around his villagers. They're taking them out, preventing that Migdol stronghold from coming up. And then we just got flooding of these units. Rapple's keeping his resources very low, and now going up to the next age here as well. Does he have a market somewhere? Is he already thrown that up? It doesn't look like he's got that anywhere just yet, but the town center that's just come up is going to get torn back down. So we see this Ulfsar going to be grabbing the third town center here. Some sort of an early mythic age hit through tier would be absolutely devastating to ChronoJJ's economy here. as you see more raiding cavalry getting taken down. There's the town center going down. And we do have like units over here already. So Rapl might check these gold mines first and then just send everything onto this large gold mine at the bottom of the map here. Even with the Migdol, it's going to be a tough one for Chrono to defend because he's only at 74 population. He doesn't have a lot of gold in the bank either. So what can he really make from this Migdol? He kind of has to make cavalry in a way to deal with the enemy heavy raiders. But I don't know if it's going to be able to do all too much as we see the walls attempting to come up here from Chrono. The raiding cavalry going to be blocking that as they are swinging in here. Going to be taking out these villagers who are making a break for it. A little bit of garrison micro here, but the villagers going to get path blocked over here nicely as they're not going to be able to retreat. And there's just so many units in here for Rapl. And Rapl has got tons of resources in the bank. I still don't see that market anywhere. There it is, as Rapl's just like, yeah, I don't care. Take my time here. He still doesn't have himself any real armor upgrades, which he could be using at this point, but see the villagers getting involved as Chrono is desperately trying to hold on here in a big way. Another villager looking like it is about to go down as well. Not quite. Going to be getting back into that town center. Only 51 villagers for ChronoJJ to Rapl's 73. So Rapl with a serious edge here as the town center is just about to get up. But at this point, Rapl kind of just building raiding cavalry. He doesn't need anything else. He's got a handful of those throwing axemen, but that does slow down his ability to like advance as he's now getting himself bow, saw, shaft mine, copper mail. This is the kind of thing you got to do to like push yourself, propel yourself in front even more. Literally just getting technologies when you're in front is a very healthy and easy way to get yourself even further in front. And Rapl is doing essentially just that as he's now got himself up to 3 town centers, excuse me. Has an eye on this town center, making sure his opponent can't grab it. Rhyme coming through. Bronze weapons, fortified town centers. Dead cavalry here as well as Chrono jumps into the Migdol, pops out at the back here, still trying to hold on. Chariot archers against heavy raiders is a very difficult thing indeed, as we see the frost getting dropped, hitting all of those villages and the army that's here, as the Migdol is going to get absolutely torn down. There's no way it gets saved here, and Chrono retreating back with his units, no gold in his pockets. I'm sure there's going to be a Mythic Age coming soon here, as ChronoJJ doesn't wait for that and taps out. These are some very, very strong units here from Rapl. Kind of messing around a little bit in the end of this game here. After that big town center takedown, I think taking it down twice as well, Rapl kind of took the foot off the gas. I think if he didn't really get all that damage done, the real strategy behind all of this was that early Mythic Age off of 2 town centers, which Rapl set up nicely, just decided to not go for it and went for the upgrades instead in the Heroic Age. But an incredibly good game displaying how easily you can dismantle a 2 town center set here on a high hunt map like this. I feel like set's got so many options that don't revolve around 2 town center play. If Egyptian doesn't go 2 town center, it makes it really hard for the Norse to make 2 town center work themselves. Now, if you do go for like heavy classical fight or something, then sometimes the 2 town center from the Norse is correct, but especially with Dar, you can deny the town center with shifting sands. Things like that can be really, really brutal. There's so many options here for set to just rely on like kind of 2 town center play doesn't make a lot of sense here for me. But if you guys did enjoy this game, please consider hitting the follow on the Twitch. If you're on the YouTubes, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next game.